This is exactly what they needed to do. I think what we have yet to hear, this shares could move again on the current quarter guide, which we might get on the call, and they could move on anything that Cook says about AI and their investment there. Those are kind of the balls that are still in the air on this one. But across the board, we're seeing really good numbers from them. That should go a long way to reassure investors that they're on a good track, and it may be because people are getting ahead of tariffs.
Yeah, and what's interesting, they also, headline crossing that they're going to pay that quarterly dividend of 26 cents a share. There's no change, so it's not like they're upping. We always talk about all the cash on their balance sheet, and folks are saying, up the dividend or pay more back. And we, this is a company that certainly has done things like buybacks and so on and so forth pretty aggressively.
Sarah, were you right in the iPhones being pulled forward in a sense due to tariffs? I mean, this was a massive beat when it came to iPhones in a quarter where people are holding off typically.
I mean, that's got to be it, right? You have to think that if people are looking at, if tariffs are going to make things more expensive, what are the big ticket items in my life that I need to buy now before that happens? And iPhones would rank towards the top of that list. If you think about what people feel like they have to own right now, that's one of those things that is a big ticket item that people might want to replace sooner to save money.
So appreciated. Of course, our Sarah Friar, she's Bloomberg News senior tech team leader, joining us from the West Coast. And we're looking at shares of Apple up about 1.5% here, almost 2% higher here in the aftermarket. Again, some of the big red stickies, as we like to call it here at Bloomberg, third quarter revenue easily outperforming what the street was expecting, $94.04 billion. Street was looking for $89.3 billion. Third quarter iPhone revenue, that too was a big beat, $44.58 billion. Estimate was $40.06 billion. Again, Sarah Farr saying maybe some of that buying was pulled forward. And then third quarter Greater China revenue outperforming just a little bit.
Expectations have been adjusted.
But
yes.
Still.
That's, hey, $15 billion, nothing to shake a stick at.
A hair above, right?
Yeah, shares going into the print down 17% this year. I want to bring in Ivan Feinseth, Research Director and Chief Investment Officer at Tigris Financial Partners. The firm has more than $500 million in assets under management. They've got both Apple and Amazon stock for clients. He joins us from New York City. What do you make of this? It was a pretty massive beat on the top line, really a massive beat across every category. Slight beat when it came to China, iPad revenue slightly below expectations. What are your first impressions?
Well, I think there was a lot of caution going into the quarter, and they were strong on revenue, definitely strong on iPhones, and strong on iPhone sales in China. Those were the key concerns. I think that even Tim Cook just commented that pull forward sales based on tariffs were only a small part from what they were seeing.
So then why do you think the iPhone beat was so big?
It just could be where we are in the upgrade cycle.
But we're in a time where people hold on to their phones for longer and wait to buy it because that new one comes out traditionally in September, late September.
There's still a lot of, 12s out there. So people may, can maybe hold off, or the promotion. We're still seeing a lot of promotions from the carrier providers like AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. So the promotions drive sales. Maybe it is, like Sarah said, concerns over higher tariff-driven prices, and people are upgrading now. So either way, there was a lot of concern that it could have been a weaker than expected quarter, and it was a much stronger than expected quarter, especially in three key areas: overall revenue, iPhone sales, and China iPhone sales.
All right, so you've got Tim Cook saying today Apple is proud to report a June quarter revenue record with double-digit growth in iPhone, Mac, and services, and growth around the world in every geographic segment. So highlighting that, the big question that we had, Ivan, going into it, and one of the things that was top of mind is AI, right? In a couple of weeks where we've been looking at the hyperscalers, the big spend, the return on investment as a result of that. What about on AI? How big a deal is that for you when you look at Apple?
It is a big deal, and they still really have not wowed on AI yet. And they're talking about partnering, working with other AI providers. I mean, Siri still needs a lot of improvement. A lot of the functionality that is out there is pretty good as far as pictures and text and email messages to integrate AI to help facilitate the editing of pictures and sending texts and emails. But I think they still have a long long way to go because Apple has always had a tremendous wow factor, and AI has really not been at the level that everybody is expecting from Apple. So
Yeah.
that is an opportunity, but services revenue did increase nicely, which is another key point. So those, I think, are really that's the fourth of the total four key points that everybody was focusing on.
Our Ian King sharing with the team on the live blog. Service revenue up 13%. Wearables provided sales that actually showed a contraction of about 8.6%. Mac sales, an increase of 15%. iPad revenue, a decline of 8%. And iPhone had revenue, an increase of 13%. AI, why is it so tricky for Apple? They're continuing to lose some top talent. Why is it so tricky for them, Ivan, that they can't seem to get it together?
May be the conundrum because Apple is viewed as a incredibly innovative company.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're never the first mover, they didn't invent the smartphone, but they took it to the next level. They didn't invent the iPod, took it to the next level. So each thing that they address, they take it. They're not the first mover, but they do take it to the next level. So everybody has high expectations as far as Apple Intelligence or AI. So I think that is part of it, and they really haven't come out and wowed everybody. The other area that I think is important, well, I think the Vision Pro as a concept was really great, but I didn't think they were going to sell that many of those headsets at $3,400. And I expected at some point they would come out with a more streamlined version, a much more cost competitive version. And I also am a big believer in the smart glass concept that Meta is doing very well with. And I think we will see some type of smart glass concept from Apple that integrates across all of its devices as far as the phone and the watch, where you could, keep the phone in your pocket and do a lot of things as far as communication, make and receive calls, send, video and pictures in real time, and communicate just like you would on FaceTime through a pair of Apple smart glasses.